HR Funk here with what I believe is a YouTube first. What I'm talking about is the subject of today's video, which is the Llama Max-1 pistol in 38 Super. Now, you can find a lot of videos on YouTube if you do a search on Llama pistols, and the reason for that is the Llama brand was produced by a Spanish company through most of the 20th century. But that company went out of business right around the year 2000, or a year or two after that, and we didn't see Llama pistols for a number of years. Since that time, the Filipino company Metro Arms has purchased the rights to the Llama brand name, and Metro Arms is now manufacturing pistols under that brand. Now, if you're familiar with Metro Arms at all, you know they have a pretty good reputation for building quality 1911s at a fairly reasonable price. Llama is actually their lower priced or lowest priced version of the 1911 that they build. And I approached this purchase with some trepidation because I'm used to purchasing a little more expensive 1911s, and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go with the bargain 1911. And what happened was, and the way this came about, I blamed the author, Stephen Hunter, by the way, for this purchase. And Mr. Hunter, if you see this video, this is your fault. The reason I say that is because I'm a fan of his books. And I've noticed that in a lot of his books, the characters that he writes about carry a pistol chambered in 38 Super. Now, I've been aware of the 38 Super cartridge for a long time. And I know it was relatively obscure. It almost faded away completely for a number of years during the mid-20th century. Eventually, it was revived by competitive shooters because of the edge that it gave in power factor. But I just never really paid that much attention to it until I started reading about it in Stephen Hunter's books. And that kind of piqued my interest because I'm a fan of cartridges that are a little bit different and firearms that are a little bit different than the ones everyone else has. For example, my Marlin lever action is chambered in 35 Remington. It's not chambered in 30-30. And I have some other firearms that are just a few degrees off of the norm because I kind of like that. I like having something a little bit different. And also I like cartridges that have some historical significance or have a colorful history. And one of the things that I do when I'm looking at making a new firearms purchase, or in this case adding a new cartridge to my inventory, is look at the history of that to see how it's been used, what its performance has been like, and what I can expect when I start to use it. And the 38 Super has a very colorful history. If you're not familiar with the cartridge, it's actually the brainchild, like so many things, of John Moses Browning. And back around 1900, he designed a cartridge for use in his 1900 and 1902 pistols that eventually became known as the 38 ACP. The 38 ACP was a decent cartridge for its time. It had ballistics comparable to what we see today with the 9mm cartridge, the standard pressure 9mm cartridge, that is. Well, along about 1929, Colt released a 1911 that they called the Super 38, and it was chambered for that cartridge that Browning designed. But what people figured out pretty quickly, and the ammunition companies first of all, was that the 1911 could withstand a lot greater pressure than the older pistols that were chambered for the 38 ACP cartridge. So for that reason, the ammunition manufacturers started to make ammunition just for the Super 38 pistol. In fact, they started to call ammunition for that pistol 38 Super so that people would understand it was for the 1911, not for those older pistols. In 1974, SAMI added the plus P designation to 38 Super ammunition to further differentiate it from the older 38 ACP. Now this requires a little bit of explanation because some folks don't understand this when they see 38 Super plus P. That does not mean that there is added pressure, which plus P designates, over and above other 38 Super ammunition. What it means is there is added pressure, or the 38 Super cartridge has added pressure over and above the old 38 ACP cartridge. So it's safe to use in your 38 Super chambered pistol. A lot of pistols come with a generic manual that has language in there that says you are not to use plus P ammunition in that particular pistol, etc., etc., etc. With the 38 Super, they should have an asterisk there, or there should be something else in there to advise people that that's not really the case with the 38 Super. The plus P doesn't mean what it does with other cartridges with regard to how it works in that particular pistol. It just means, again, that it has higher pressure over and above the old 38 ACP ammunition. So all that to say, the pistol for today's evaluation is chambered in 38 Super, and it is the Llama Max-1 pistol. Overall, I'm very pleased with the pistol. Again, I approached this purchase with a little bit of concern. I wasn't sure just exactly what I was going to get into with a budget-priced 1911, and so far I've been very pleased. Let's take a closer look at the Llama Max-1. And here is the Max-1 pistol from Llama. It comes in a nice plastic hard case. It is lockable. And the pistol is basically just a no-frills 1911. It has a matte blued finish, and one of the places where you can see that they've tried to save some money to keep the price point of this pistol low is with the finish. You can see there's nothing fancy there. There's not a lot of checkering or anything else. We do have a grooved mainspring housing. It is a flat mainspring housing, where the rest of the pistol follows all of the improvements of the 1911A2. It does retain the flat mainspring housing of the 1911 pistol, the original 1911 pistol. Now, I'm one of the few people that really does prefer the arched mainspring housing, but I can live with the flat mainspring housing, at least for now, although I could foresee an arched mainspring housing in this pistol's future. It does have a couple of upgrades over the standard 1911A2, beginning with the grip safety. Now, it does not have a beaver tail grip safety. It's the standard grip safety we've come to know and love up here, but it has the raised surface back here to help make sure the safety is disengaged when the shooter takes a proper shooting grip. The thumb safety has very positive engagement and disengagement. And overall, the fit of the parts on this pistol are very tight. The barrel does not show any movement at all when it's locked up. Oh, by the way, it is safety checked. I made certain before I started the evaluation that the pistol was not loaded. Again, no movement in the barrel hood. Really, no movement at all in the muzzle. And the bushing to barrel fit is very tight. I can get the bushing out without a wrench, but it takes some work. It's much easier with a wrench. And the bushing to slide fit also is very tight. No movement there at all. Very good fit of the parts. It comes with VZ style. I'm not sure if they are exactly manufactured by VZ, but VZ style G10 grips, which are very nice, give a very good purchase of the pistol. It also has 3-dot sights that give a nice sight picture. And one of the reasons that I picked the Llama Max-1 over the Rock River pistol that was chambered for the 38 Super is because of the sights. The Rock River pistol maintained the standard GI type sights of the original military 1911s, which do not give the greatest sight picture. The Max-1 has upgraded sights, which I appreciate. Now, one thing that I wish they would do, and I know this is another point that is meant to keep the price down of the pistol, the front sight on the Max-1 is pinned into place, or peened into place rather. I do wish this had been a dovetail cut, so if anyone wanted to change the sights, it was just a simple matter of driving out that front sight and driving a new one in. The magazine catch is nicely checkered and actuates very well. And the magazine well is not flared at all. It is just squared off there. Again, this is something that can be upgraded in the future. No real big problems there. One of the really nice things that I've noticed, if we can see it with the pistol assembled, is the polishing on the feed ramp and the barrel throat. You can see that it is just mirror polished. So long as the magazine works properly, I don't expect any feeding problems with this pistol when we get it out to the range. And I have not shot it yet, but that's coming. The ejection port of the pistol is lowered and somewhat flared to give more positive ejection. The pistol has the standard GI style hammer. Nothing fancy here. There's no commander style skeletonized hammer or anything like that. It's just a standard GI hammer, which is perfectly serviceable. Probably my biggest criticism of the Max-1, and again, keeping in mind that this is a $500 pistol, is the quality of the trigger pull. I can tell that it is just not quite to the same level as the more expensive pistols. Now, it is perfectly serviceable. I don't expect that I'm going to have any problem pulling the trigger, but I notice as I squeeze the trigger, there's some creep, and then it catches, and then it creeps a little bit more, and then the trigger finally breaks. So it is not the greatest trigger pull that I've ever experienced, but here again, with the plethora of 1911 triggers and hammers and sears out there, it's no big problem to upgrade those parts, and I may even do a little bit of work on these before I even try to do that to see if I can improve the trigger pull a little bit. And before I do any of that, I'm just going to run quite a few rounds of ammunition through it and see if the trigger pull improves some on its own. The only real problem that I've encountered with the Max-1 pistol so far, if we want to call it a problem, is with the fit of the slide stop. When I disassembled this pistol initially and went to put it back together, I got to the point where I was inserting the slide stop, and the slide stop plunger extends just a little too far forward, and I was not able to get that to snap into place. What I eventually had to do was reach underneath there with something very small and depress the slide stop plunger, and then I was able to insert the slide stop. Now, I've encountered that with other pistols of the 1911 design before, most of which cost much more than the Llama Max-1. And what I notice is eventually, as the parts wear a little bit, that usually gets to where you can snap it into place without depressing the plunger. But in any regard, that is probably the only actual problem, and not much of a problem, that I've run across with the Max-1 so far. The other detraction from the entire experience with purchasing the Max-1 involves the magazine. The pistol is supposed to come with 2 magazines. This one, for some reason, arrived with only 1. Again, not a real big concern. The distributor was contacted. There's a new additional magazine being shipped, so I'm sure I will have that in the very near future. But it would have been nice to have opened it up and had both magazines in the box the way they were supposed to be. Just for a little bit of a size comparison, here's a 38 Super cartridge side by side with a 9mm. You can see that it is a longer casing that does allow for greater powder capacity inside, and the ballistics of the 38 Super are far and away higher and have greater potential than the 9mm cartridge does. So as a hand loader, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is experimenting with this cartridge and trying to see just how much performance I can get from it. From what I see looking through the manuals and from what I see online, the 38 Super cartridge really can be loaded to about the ballistics of a mid-range .357 Magnum. And I think that's kind of exciting in a 1911 platform. So even though I approached my purchase of the Llama Max-1 pistol with a little bit of concern, since it is a budget 1911, overall I am very pleased with what I've received, and I'm very much looking forward to getting it out to the range and seeing how it performs. So that's about as much as we can do with our evaluation of the Llama Max-1 pistol from the shop. Next we go out to the range and run some ammunition through it and see how it performs. And here we go. And just that fast, folks, we are out at the range, ready to run some ammo through the Llama Max-1 pistol. Before I start shooting, I do want to correct a couple of comments that I made earlier when I kept referring to the features of the Llama Max-1 pistol as being the same as the 1911 A2. Apparently I was channeling my AR-15 A2s when I was talking, and I meant to say that it has many of the same characteristics of the 1911 A1 pistol, with the exception of the flat mainspring housing, which is of course characteristic of the original 1911. So sorry about the misreference there. Also, to finish a thought as to why I said this was a YouTube first, if you do searches on YouTube, you will find many videos on 1911 pistols, some of which are chambered for the 38 Super cartridge. A lot of those, by the way, happen to be in the Spanish language because the 38 Super cartridge was fairly popular in Mexico and the Latin American countries, and also in Spain. The reason for that is those countries, or at least some of those countries, have restrictions on the private ownership of firearms and ammunition that are considered to be military cartridges like the 45 ACP and the 9mm cartridge. So the 38 Super, which was never adopted by the military, is acceptable for ownership by persons in those countries, and they happen to be Spanish speaking. But even with those, most of them that you see are the older Llama pistols that were manufactured by the company that went out of business years ago. There are a few videos that I've found with the newer Metro Arms produced Llama Max-1 pistol, but those are all for the 45 ACP versions of this pistol. This is the only video I know of that is talking about and reviewing the Llama Max-1 pistol chambered for the 38 Super cartridge. So I'm happy to be the first one to do that. So all that out of the way, I'm going to get things set up and we're going to start to do some shooting and we'll see how the pistol does. Okay folks, first shots out of the Llama Max-1 are going to be a simple accuracy test. I've got a target set up. I'm at 7 yards. The rounds that I'm about to run through are the very first ones to ever go through this pistol. I'm shooting Fiocchi ammunition, 129 grain, full metal jacket ammunition. It's rated at about 1175 feet per second. Let's see how it does. Okay, not bad accuracy from 7 yards. Everything is in the 10 ring. This one is at least touching the 10 ring. A couple of X's there. This one might be an X, I'm not sure. Decent accuracy, but I can definitely tell that the trigger quality on this particular pistol affects the accuracy when you're really trying to make a precise shot. A better trigger on the pistol would have yielded better accuracy even at this relatively close distance. Now you may have noticed that very first round that I fired did fail to cycle. The round fired fine, but when the pistol cycled, it did not chamber the second round. After that, everything fed and functioned fine, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. I should mention that I did not put any lubricant on the pistol at all. I had it at home. So that very first round was exactly the way it came out of the box. But again, I'll keep an eye on it and see how the pistol runs as I take it through the rest of the evaluation. Okay folks, I now have the pistol completely loaded. One of the things that I should have mentioned before, and one of the nice things about the 38 Super cartridge, is it allows a little bit greater ammunition capacity than a similar 45 ACP chambered pistol. In this case, this is a 9-round magazine, and with 1 round in the chamber, that gives us a total of 10 shots of the 38 Super cartridge. And what I'm going to do now is start to fire at my human silhouette target. I'm going to be running some double taps and some triple taps out of the pistol, and we're just going to see how it does through this portion of the evaluation. And another failure to chamber. Okay folks, the accuracy is looking good. The recoil is very manageable. The pistol is very controllable. The only thing that's bothering me now is I've had 2 failures to chamber while firing these initial few rounds. I think what I'm going to do is switch ammunition. I've got a couple of other brands out here, and we'll see if we continue to have this problem with other types of ammunition. Okay folks, I've changed ammunition. The ammunition that I'm now using is Remington Full Metal Jacket loads that feature a 130 grain Full Metal Jacket bullet. This is loaded a little bit warmer than the Fiocchi ammunition that I was shooting before. This is rated about 1,240 feet per second. Let's see how it runs in the Llama Max-1. And a malfunction with the Remingtons. This could also be a break-in issue with this pistol. These, again, are the first rounds that I've ever run through it. I'm going to keep shooting it, and we'll see if these eventually go away, or if maybe this is going to be an issue that's going to require some work to be able to correct. Okay, folks, I'm going to try again. This time, it's a MagTech load, again with a 130 grain full metal jacket bullet. This one's rated about 1,225 feet per second. Let's see how this one runs. And again, another failure to feed out of the magazine. Another failure to feed. Well, folks, I like everything about this pistol except for the fact that it's not cycling reliably. Okay, folks, last load is 125 grain Winchester silver tips. These are also rated about 1,240 feet per second. My intention was to use these to check the cycling reliability of hollow point ammunition, but so far we haven't made it through a full magazine of the full metal jacket loads, so I'm not sure what to expect with these. Let's try it and see. And the same exact malfunction, failure to feed. Same thing again. It really doesn't like the hollow points. Well, folks, I really wish I had that second magazine to see if this was a magazine functioning problem or if it's something to do with the pistol itself. Again, with the polish that I had on that feed ramp and throat, I really did not expect a failure to feed issue. But for some reason, the ammunition that I've tried, I've gone through 4 different types now, is not running reliably in the Llama Max-1. So I'm going to have to stop the video now. I'm going to do some work on the pistol. Might end up sending it back to Llama/Metro Arms to see if they can rectify the situation. And if I get it taken care of, I'll report back. I'll do another video to let you know how it's doing. And if not, if it continues to have this problem, then I'm not going to have it for long. But in any regard, I hope you enjoyed the video for what it was. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those below. And as always, until next time, good shooting. Bye-bye.